Friedrich Nietzsche develops the theory of the overman, also known as Superman or übermensch, in one of his greatest works, Those Spoke Zarathustra. Nietzsche's Superman concentrates the German philosopher's conception of a transcendent man who surpasses himself and human nature. In essence, a Superman is someone that has overcome the slavery of the human condition and has reached a true state of freedom, of free play and creativity. In this state of individual purity, the individual has been discharged of all social, ecclesiastical, and literary influences, and has got rid of them. Also, the influence of any person has been undone. He who seeks the state of purity will want to build his own destiny, create his own values, and dance the game of life to the rhythm of his own spirit. Nietzsche describes that to reach the Superman's state, the individual must go through 3 metamorphoses of the spirit. These metamorphoses serve as a kind of guide to become a Superman. First metamorphosis, the camel. What is the heaviest, asked the load-bearing spirit, for me to carry, so that I will carry it and my strength will rejoice, just like a camel that wants to be well loaded. What Nietzsche means is that before one can become a Superman, he must first bear great burdens, a struggle with fear, love, trust, death, confusion, the thirst for knowledge, and all other aspects of human existence. The camel embraces these challenges in the name of duty and novelty. Seen otherwise, the camel doesn't run away or distracts himself from life, but greets it head-on and embraces the challenges it presents with a high sense of duty. Done this, the camel gets himself humiliated and strengthened. Only through this suffering, the camel will have the strength and endurance necessary to reach the next level of spiritual transformation. Second metamorphosis, the lion. Nietzsche describes how the camel finally enters the loneliest desert before becoming a lion. The metaphor of the solitary desert can be interpreted this way. The camel has searched, invited, and invested the battles that life offers, but this has made him a kind of alienated. He has differentiated himself from the others and from the society that produced them. The doubt has been inlaid, and he questions everything, from his own value up to the value of his searches. The desert is the place of the existential crisis, where the camel ponders the existence of any law or universal virtue, and if they are there for him or to guide him to his purposes. For Nietzsche, there are no universal virtues or absolute purposes. The camel is forced to consider this possibility. Only so he can become a lion. But in the loneliest of the desert, the second transformation takes place. The lion transforms here. The spirit wants to conquer its freedom as a prey is conquered, and to be lord in its own desert. Here he looks for his last master. He wants to become an enemy of him and of his last god. With the great dragon he wants to fight for victory. Who is the great dragon that the spirit does not want to continue calling Sir or God? You must, it's called the great dragon. But the spirit of the lion says, I want. You must closes his path. It shines like gold. It is a scaly animal, and in each of one of its scales it shines brightly. You must. Millennial values shine in these scales. The most powerful of all dragons speaks like this. All the values of things shine in me. All the values have already been created, and I am all created values. In truth, there should not be any I want. So the dragon speaks. My brethren, why is it necessary for the spirit to be lion? Why is not enough for the beast of burden that renounces everything and is respectful? To create new values, the lion is not capable yet, but to create freedom for a new creation, that the power of the lion is able to do. Create freedom and a no, even holy, face to duty. For this, my brothers, the lion is necessary. Taking the right of new values, that is the most horrible thing for a respectful spirit of charge. The key of the previous text is found when the camel discovers that the virtue and universal truth might not exist. Then he can only take 2 paths: reject life for not making sense, or claim his own freedom and create his own meaning and his own virtue. For becoming a Superman, it is clear that only the second option is correct. It will take you to the next level. To reach it, the camel must destroy the highest wall that separates him from true freedom. the duty and virtue imposed by tradition and society. This is what the great dragon of Nietzsche represents. The camel has been his slave, and the dragon has invited him to take vital challenges as long as they are in accordance with the values imposed from the outside. We can see the dragon as a simple representation of everyone who tries to tell us how to live. The camel must reject the dragon of tradition and commandments, but he won't be able to do it in his current form of camel, lover of duties, for it must be transformed. His previous tests have allowed him to reach enough strength to become a lion, symbol of courage, tenacity, disillusionment, and even anger. Only in this state the spirit is able to pronounce a resounding no. This no represents the absolute rejection of any external control and all traditional values. Everything imposed by other individuals, societies, churches, families, as well as all forms of propaganda, must be expelled with a powerful roar. This doesn't mean that the lion thinks that the virtues and values imposed by those entities are evil or corrupt. In fact, they could be good and useful. However, it is also a fact that they come from an external authority, and therefore their expulsion is required. The Superman is the absolute individual, and therefore he must invent his own values in his own terms. Third metamorphosis, the kid. After the lion has pronounced the sacred no, the spirit must go under a further transformation in the path to become a Superman. But tell me, my brothers, what can the child do that even the lion cannot? Why does the predatory lion still have to become a child? The child is innocence and forgetfulness, restart and play, a will that turns by itself, a first movement, a sacred yes. For the game of creation, my brothers, a saint yes is necessary. The spirit now wants his will, the withdrawn from the world now conquers his world. Then Nietzsche argues that the lion must transform once again to forget. The spirit has suffered much confusion and confinement, and it is necessary to empty his mind from the past to pronounce a sacred yes. The child affirms the moment, affirms without certainty, and affirms above all the flow of life. The child becomes a will that drives itself, such as life. The child chooses to roll with life, dance and play with it. Finally, for Nietzsche, pure creation emerges in this state of play, when a person can reach a childlike understanding, a mind immersed in the moment, and full of wonder and rejoicing. This person can do at their own will, create their own virtue, and so create his own reality. In the process of this last metamorphosis, the spirit becomes itself, conquers his world, and reaches the state of Superman. The spirit reaches its liberation. But some will arise with a doubt. If the universal values doesn't exist, and one is free to create their own, how to determine if atrocious acts such as murder, rape, or torture are justified? Nietzsche was well aware of this possibility, and even predicted that his ideas could be used as justification for atrocities. Actually, there are very few reasons to believe that a hypothetical Superman has no compassionate values. In fact, there are arguments to think that it is quite likely that he or she could have them. It is possible to see in Nietzsche's child a playful being in full contact with his deep nature, perhaps similar to that of a Taoist or Zen Buddhist that has been realized. There is a Zen saying that says, "Nothing is left but having a good laugh." In other words, the moment in which one has attained Satori, enlightenment, is similar to the moment in which the state of childhood has been reached. In Zen and Taoism, as well as in Nietzsche's work, when someone reaches this state of liberation, he discovers natural compassion for all sentient beings, not as a moral law, but as the natural and intuitive consequence of understanding that all beings come from the same essence. There will also be those who believe that this theory is an unattainable idealization, but from it we can at least extract several axioms of great usefulness and importance. First, the pain is necessary for positive transformation and it must be embraced. Basically, the physical, emotional, and existential pain is an inalienable aspect of life. Most of us let it become the source of deeper anxiety or sadness because we feel frustrated and we ask ourselves why, instead of understanding that through difficult experiences we become resilient beings and more perceptive with life. That is why we should instead accept the pain to embrace and observe it calmly. Second, to free ourselves, we must fight any control that comes from external authorities. If our acts and thoughts are dictated by external entities, we can't know ourselves, avoiding that we live an authentic life. The idea of others can inspire and influence ours. However, the key is not to assume blindly that our knowledge or that of others is absolute. We must develop the ability to understand any idea without having to accept it, allowing the resonant parts of truth to merge with our unique and ever-changing cosmology. We must appropriate each idea by altering it and understanding it in the specific of our spirit. Third, cultivate courage and audacity to cut the threads that manipulate us. There is a reason why most people walk blindly through life. They are terrified to pursue other alternatives. To pursue truth and freedom above all things entails a painful and often lonely existence. However, the rewards are galactic in their greatness. The sense of freedom, power, uniqueness, and love that can be achieved in the search for a superior existence are indescribable and immeasurable gems of human experience. We must find in ourselves that place of answers and unparalleled audacity that elevates us above those who want to control us. Fourth, affirming life and dancing with it to play and invent. The child not only accepts life, he exalts its all. His childhood spirit recognizes that his own thoughts and expectations are the source of his experience, whether positive or negative. So he chooses to live in spontaneity, relaxed and in a state of perpetual celebration. Achieving this, he is allowed to flow instead of swimming against the stream. He becomes able to create with purity because he lives in an authentic way, making use of the infinite imagination of the universe, and that is something we should aspire to.